talk a little bit more about the underperformance of the other Mag 7 stocks apart from Meta. To do that, let's bring in Gene Munster, managing partner at Deepwater Asset Management. I'm prone to say that the Mag 7 has become the Lag 7, except for Meta. Gene?
Indeed, Tyler. The Meta's up 23% over the last month. The rest of the Mag 7 down 1%. If you pull Tesla out, that's been a big drag on that, it would be up 2%. So compare that to the NASDAQ over the last month, which is up almost 5%. This is definitely a different message that we've seen from this leadership group over the past couple of years. And Tyler, I want to just quickly frame in why I think what is going on here. Beyond Meta, I think what is going on is that this is almost becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy with investors just looking back and looking at these trillion-dollar-plus market caps and just mathematically trying to understand what percentage performance they can get relative to some other smaller names. And I think you have this dynamic playing out. In fairness to the Mag 7, I do want to quickly recap the scorecard from the December quarter. 4 of those 6 companies reported their of the 6 companies, the 6 of the Mag 7 that reported, 4 had positive results. A couple had a little bit of hair on them, but all 6 were, I would say, doubling down and uber optimistic about how this year is going to play out, how next year is going to play out. And so I think the context of this is that the fundamentals continue to be strong. One last piece is, despite my optimism around the Mag 7, I do think you're going to see more outperformance from smaller companies. I think just at Deepwater, in terms of how we're investing, we're focusing still on the same themes, but companies that are kind of that sub 500 billion market cap in this frontier tech realm. So still own some of the Mag 7, but we've shifted some of our focus to some of these smaller companies.
So what you're pinpointing there, and I'll get Steve to jump in here in just a second. What you're pinpointing here is a kind of rotation that a lot of people have been talking about and expecting for the past year or so, and now maybe those days are upon us. Is that a fair characterization of what you're thinking, Gene?
Exactly. And I mean, I'd say that, again, I think we own many of the Mag 7. I think they're going to do great, reward investors. But I think this outperformance piece is going to shift to some of these smaller companies. And ultimately, they are participating along with the Mag 7. They just haven't been this flight to quality. The key is this. As long as the broader market holds together, I think you're going to see better outperformance from these smaller companies.
So Gene, I'm going to pick right up where you left off. So when you look at the broader market is 40% dependent on Mag 7, pretty much. So without Mag 7, the broader market sort of fades. And we saw Meta, Tyler brought it up, 65 billion in capex. We saw Microsoft, 85 billion in capex. We saw Amazon, 104 billion capex. If DeepSeek threw the grenade into that pile, what are they going to pivot and spend all this money on? Even if DeepSeek is a scam, there's got to be some efficiencies that's out there that they don't need to spend what they're spending now. What do they pivot to spending on?
I think from the mega caps, it's still going to be AI. I think it's still going to be that same story that we've had. I still believe we're very early in this, and I still believe we're going to have a great 2-year bull market that's going to end in a spectacular bursting of the bubble. One piece to Steve, really quick. You talked about that 40% of the market, and can if the Mag 7 doesn't work, how can the rest of the market work? And I do believe that the Mag 7 will continue to work. I think that as long as they're moving higher, I think these other stocks will continue to do well. I mean, from our perspective, one thing, we have an ETF, and its ticker is LOUP, that focuses on these smaller companies. And it's been up 9% this year. As I mentioned, the NASDAQ up 5%. It's that kind of dynamic that we're seeing. And so we're closely watching this dynamic play out.
I was about to let you go, but I'm going to come back to something you just said. But I also want to get a couple of names in that sub 500, sub $20 billion market cap that have caught your attention. So give me a couple of names there quickly, and then I want to follow up with one quick question.
So one of them is Celestica, a name that many don't know. This is it's basically a switch company, competes with Cisco, gaining share. It's needed for the development. Another one is Reddit. Many know, but still, I think, underappreciated what they're doing with their data related to training AI.
talk about throwing the grenade. I heard you say, if I heard you right, that we have 2 more years of a good bull market and then a spectacular bursting of the bubble.
It's going to be great.
Going to be great, right?